This audiobook isn't about shame. It's about power your power. You're here because a part of you knows you've lost control somewhere along the way. You felt stuck in a cycle that gives you a quick escape, but leaves you feeling empty afterward. You might have tried to stop before, maybe even promised yourself 100 times, and yet it pulled you back in. But here's what I want you to understand. You're not broken. Porn addiction is a sign of weakness, and it's not a moral failure. It's simply how your brain has been wired over time to chase quick hits of pleasure. The good news? What's wired can always be rewired. This journey isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about learning how your mind works and then taking back control of it, step by step. So as you listen, keep an open mind. Drop the guilt. You don't need to fight yourself anymore. You just need to understand yourself. By the time you reach the end, you'll see freedom isn't some distant dream. It's something you can start creating right now, in this moment. We rarely talk about it openly, but it's everywhere. You don't have to search for it. It finds you. A click, a scroll, a suggestion, a habit. It starts as curiosity, a small escape, a moment of relief from boredom or stress. And for a while, it seems harmless, even normal. But slowly, something begins to change. What once felt like a choice begins to feel like a need. And before you even realize it, you're caught. Not because you're weak, but because something deeper inside your brain has been hijacked. Every time you watch, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical of reward, motivation, and pleasure. It's the same neurotransmitter that drives you to eat, to chase goals, to feel alive. But the kind of dopamine rush that porn gives is far more intense than anything in real life. It's like feeding your brain a shot of pure stimulation, a digital explosion of novelty. Over time, your brain starts craving that same level of intensity again and again. Regular life begins to feel dull. Conversations, studying, work, even real intimacy start to lose their spark. Because why would your brain chase real-world effort when it can get instant pleasure with no risk, no rejection, no effort? That's the trap. Instant gratification. A shortcut to pleasure that costs you your long-term peace. You see, porn is like junk food for the brain. It's engineered to hit the pleasure centers instantly. Bright colors, fast edits, endless variety. It keeps you hooked because it gives you exactly what your brain wants in a moment. But it starves what your soul truly needs. Just like junk food destroys your physical health over time, porn does the same to your mental and emotional health. It rewires your motivation system. Your brain becomes desensitized, meaning it needs more and more stimulation to feel the same pleasure. What used to satisfy no longer does. And in that cycle, real connection begins to fade. You stop feeling that deep emotional pull toward people. Real attraction, the kind that grows from presence, energy, and trust, begins to dull. Relationships start feeling distant or awkward, and your confidence starts to shrink. You may even find yourself avoiding social situations, feeling anxious, guilty, or emotionally numb. What porn does is create emotional disconnection, not just from others, but from yourself. It numbs the very part of you that craves meaning, closeness, and authenticity. And the worst part? It convinces you that it's giving you what you want, when really it's taking away. That's how the trap works. It replaces connection with stimulation. It replaces effort with ease. It replaces presence with fantasy. And the more you fall into that loop, the harder it becomes to enjoy the real world. Because your brain has been taught to expect something that reality can never deliver. You become hungry for intensity instead of intimacy, pleasure instead of peace, fantasy instead of feeling. But I want you to pause for a moment and really think about this. Your brain is not your enemy. It's just following what it believes gives you reward. It's learned the wrong pattern, but it's still your brain, capable of learning something new. Awareness is the beginning of change. When you can see the mechanism, when you can name the pattern, it begins to lose its power over you. You can't fight what you don't understand. You can't escape what you refuse to see. That's why the first step to freedom isn't about quitting cold turkey or forcing willpower. The first step is simply to understand what has captured you. Because once you understand the trap, you begin to see the way out. Awareness changes everything. It's the moment you stop being the prisoner of your mind and start becoming its observer. Most people who struggle with any addiction, not just porn, spend their lives reacting. Something happens, they feel a certain way, and before they even realize it, the habit takes over. It's automatic. It's like driving on autopilot down a road you didn't even mean to take. But the truth is, you don't fall into addiction because you're weak. You fall into it because you're unaware of the moments that pull you in. Those small, quiet moments before the action, that's where all your power hides. So let's look closer. For most people, the urge to watch porn doesn't come out of nowhere. It usually begins with a trigger. Maybe you're stressed after a long day. Maybe you're lonely or bored or simply curious. Sometimes it's not even about desire. It's about escape. You want relief, distraction, a moment where you don't have to feel so much. These triggers could be emotions, situations, or even times of the day. Late nights, isolation, scrolling on your phone, that sudden rush of emptiness when life feels flat. Each of those moments whispers the same lie. Just one more time, it'll help you feel better. But it never really helps, does it? Because what you're actually craving is not the video. It's relief, connection, comfort, calm. The habit just disguises itself as pleasure, when really it's your pain asking to be noticed. That's where awareness steps in. Think of awareness like turning on a light in a dark room. When you're in the dark, everything looks terrifying. You stumble, you panic, you imagine monsters that aren't there. But the moment you turn on the light, the fear loses its power. You can see clearly. You realize there's nothing to run from, only things to understand. It's the same with your urges. When you shine awareness on them, they begin to lose control over you. You stop running from them and start watching them. There's a simple but powerful way to practice this, something I call the 5-second pause. Here's how it works. The next time you feel an urge, before you reach your phone, before you type, before you act, stop. Pause for just 5 seconds. Breathe in slowly. Notice the feeling rising inside you. Don't judge it. Don't fight it. Just watch it. You might feel tension in your chest, a quickening of your heartbeat, a pull of energy toward the thought. That's okay. Observe it like you'd watch a waveform in the ocean. Watch how it builds, peaks, and fades. Because every urge, no matter how strong, always fades when you stop feeding it. Repeat this silently to yourself. Before acting on the urge, I pause. I breathe. I watch. I don't feed it. You're teaching your brain a new rule that you are the observer, not the slave. You don't have to obey every signal your body sends. You can sit still and let the storm pass. At first, those 5 seconds might feel impossible, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. You begin to build a gap between impulse and action, and that gap is where freedom lives. Awareness doesn't mean the urges will disappear overnight, but it means they'll stop controlling you. You'll start to see the pattern as it's happening, and that simple recognition begins to dissolve it. The truth is, your mind has been running on autopilot for years. Awareness is how you take the wheel back. It's how you move from reacting to responding, from being lost in emotion to standing above it. You start to notice things. This feeling comes when I'm tired. This urge rises when I feel rejected. This temptation appears when I'm bored. And with every observation, your understanding grows. And as understanding grows, control returns. Because when you can name your triggers, you can anticipate them. When you can watch your urges, you can disarm them. And when you can breathe through the storm, you begin to master your own mind. That's what awareness truly is. The power to see clearly without judgment. To know that feelings are temporary, and you are something far greater than your impulses. So remember this. Every time you pause instead of react, you're breaking a link in the chain. Every time you breathe through an urge, you're rewiring your brain. And every time you choose awareness, you're reclaiming power. Real transformation doesn't start with control. It starts with awareness. Because the moment you can see the loop clearly, you're no longer trapped inside it. You stepped outside of it. And that's where true freedom begins. Your brain is not fixed. It's not broken. And it's not your enemy. It's an incredible, living, adapting machine, constantly changing based on what you feed it. This is what scientists call neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. Every thought, every emotion, every action you repeat creates a neural pathway. The more you use that pathway, the stronger it gets. The less you use it, the weaker it becomes. Think of it like carving trails through a forest. Every time you act on an urge, you walk the same path. You make it clearer, faster, easier to travel. But the moment you stop walking it, the weeds start to grow back, and the trail slowly fades away. When you choose a new habit, a new way of acting, you start cutting a fresh path, one that leads you toward freedom instead of compulsion. This is a foundation of real change. You're not fighting your brain, you're retraining it. See, when you've been stuck in a loop of porn addiction, your brain becomes wired to chase quick dopamine spikes, that instant rush of pleasure, that immediate reward. But like any drug, the more you feed it, the more it demands. Eventually, your baseline dopamine, your natural motivation for life, drops. That's why everything else starts to feel dull. Work, relationships, even hobbies lose their color. So how do you fix it? You don't fight the dopamine system. You retrain it. You show your brain that pleasure can come from growth, effort, and creation, not just stimulation. You start by replacing the old habits with new ones. Because here's a universal truth. You can't erase a habit. You must replace it. You can't simply remove the behavior and leave a void. The brain doesn't like emptiness. It needs a substitute, something healthier that still gives it reward, energy, or relief. So, what are those replacements? They're habits that restore balance to your mind and body. Habits that give you long-term satisfaction instead of instant gratification. Start with exercise. Move your body every day, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Physical movement resets your dopamine system. It gives you natural highs, not from fantasy, but from progress. Every push-up, every sprint, every drop of sweat is your brain healing itself. Then try cold showers. They may sound small, but they're powerful. When you step into cold water, your body releases a surge of adrenaline and dopamine, but in a natural, regulated way. You're training your mind to stay calm in discomfort. That's discipline. That's rewiring. Journaling is another tool. Every time you write, you take what's vague in your mind and make it clear on paper. You start to see patterns, what triggers you, what days you feel strong, what habits make you slip. Over time, journaling becomes your mirror, the one that shows your growth in real time. And then there's creation. Use your energy to build something. Play music, learn a skill, start a project, record your story. Porn drains your creative force, your drive to build, to express, to connect. The moment you redirect that energy into creating, you stop feeding destruction and start feeding life. Now let's talk about how to structure your day to make this rewiring stick. Start your morning with intention. Don't wake up and grab your phone. That's the first test of dopamine control. Instead, take a few deep breaths. Drink water. Move your body. Stretch, meditate. Walk outside. Tell your mind what kind of day you're going to have before the world tells you who to be. As you move through your day, give your attention to purpose-driven work. When you focus deeply on something meaningful, a goal, a skill, a challenge, your brain releases dopamine in a steady, healthy way. That's called delayed gratification. It's the foundation of long-term happiness. And when night comes, reset your sleep cycle. Turn off screens an hour before bed. Let your body rest naturally. Sleep is when your brain does its deepest rewiring, clearing out waste, repairing neurons, strengthening new pathways. Without good sleep, even the strongest willpower begins to fade. Here's the truth. Rewiring isn't about force. It's about repetition. Every time you resist the old path and choose a new one, your brain takes note. It begins to favor the new route. At first, it'll feel difficult. The old habit will call to you because it's familiar. But every time you say no to the urge and yes to awareness, you're physically changing the structure of your brain. You may not see the change in a day or even a week, but one morning you'll wake up and realize the fog is lifting. You'll feel a quiet sense of control, a strength you haven't felt in years. That's your brain healing. That's your soul remembering who it is. So stay patient. Stay consistent. Keep replacing the old with the new, because the person you're becoming is already forming, one choice at a time. Remember this line and carry it with you. Each time you resist, you rewire. Each time you create, you heal. Discipline is not punishment. It's power. And identity. That's the core of transformation. Most people stuck in addiction keep saying, I'm trying to quit. But that very sentence keeps them trapped because it implies you're still the same person, fighting the same battle, using the same identity. The real shift begins when you say, I'm becoming someone new. Every lasting change in life starts with identity. Think about it. When you call yourself a non-smoker, you're not fighting cigarettes anymore. When you call yourself an athlete, you don't try to exercise. You train because that's who you are. The same truth applies here. You're not someone trying to stop watching porn. You're someone who chooses self-mastery over instant pleasure. Your brain, your body, your habits, they all follow the image you hold of yourself. This is what I call the identity loop. It starts with belief. Belief shapes thoughts. Thoughts fuel actions. Actions, repeated, form habits. And those habits reinforce belief. So if you keep believing I'm weak, your brain will look for ways to confirm it. But if you start saying, I'm disciplined, I'm focused, I'm in control, your mind begins to rewire itself around that truth. Discipline isn't about being perfect every day. It's about showing up even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient. It's built like a muscle, one repetition at a time. You don't go to the gym once and expect to transform your body. You show up, you sweat, you grow. The same rule applies to your mind. Start small. Each time you say no to an urge, you're lifting an invisible weight. Each morning you rise with intention, you're shaping your identity. Each night you go to bed proud of one small victory, you're becoming unshakable. Build daily wins. Keep promises to yourself. That's how discipline forms, not from huge leaps, but from consistent steps. Don't focus on the mountain. Focus on the next step up the hill. Now visualize your free self. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a version of you that's not ruled by urges, a version that's calm, confident, creative, and deeply alive. See how that person walks, how they speak, how they look at the world. That version already exists inside you. Every act of discipline, every moment of self-control brings you closer to becoming that version, not someday, but now. Remember this. You're not fighting your urges. You're training your awareness. You're teaching your brain that you are the one in command. Urges will come and go, but you remain the observer, the chooser, the creator of your own life. Every time you pause, every time you choose purpose over pleasure, you carve a new path in your brain, a path that leads to freedom. So say this with me, quietly or out loud. I am not my urges. I am the observer. I choose what I feed. And the more you feed discipline, the more your identity changes. Until one day, you realize you don't even crave the old pattern anymore, because the person you become no longer lives there. You've stepped into a new identity, one built on choice, clarity, and self-respect. And that's where true freedom begins. Let's talk about something that most people avoid. Relapse. It's the word that makes many people feel like they failed. But I want you to listen closely. Relapse does not mean failure. It means you're human. It means you're learning. Recovery isn't a straight line. It's a path full of turns, pauses, and sometimes steps backward. What matters is not the fall. It's how you rise after it. This chapter isn't here to make you feel guilty. It's here to remind you that progress isn't destroyed by one mistake. The truth is, relapse doesn't erase growth. It tests it. It shows you where your weak points still live, and it gives you a chance to strengthen them. So when it happens, and it might, don't run from it. Don't drown in guilt or shame. Instead, use it as a mirror. You're not starting over from zero. You're starting again from experience. This is where the reset method comes in. 3 simple steps. Reflect, understand, recommit. Step 1. Reflect. Ask yourself, what happened? What was I feeling before the urge hit? Were you stressed? Lonely? Tired? Angry? Most relapses don't happen out of nowhere. They follow emotional patterns. When you reflect honestly, you start to see the chain of events that led you there. Reflection isn't judgment, it's awareness. Step 2, understand. Once you see the pattern, go deeper. What were you really craving? Because it's rarely the porn itself. Maybe you were craving comfort, or escape, or connection. Porn just became the shortcut, the counterfeit version of a real need. Understanding helps you find what your heart was asking for beneath the surface. Step 3, recommit. Now, you don't sit in the shame. You stand up and recommit, not to being perfect, but to continuing. Say to yourself, this moment does not define me. My next choice does. That one line can save you from weeks of guilt and self-blame. Understand this. Guilt, when held too long, becomes gasoline for relapse. It burns your energy, clouds your judgment, and convinces you that you're too far gone to change. That's the real trap, the shame spiral. You mess up, you feel guilty, and that guilt makes you seek comfort again, in the very habit you're trying to escape. So when you fall, catch yourself with compassion. Not indulgence, not excuses, compassion. Speak to yourself the way you'd speak to someone you love who's hurting. Yes, I slipped, but I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I still have power. Take a deep breath and reset. Do one good thing immediately. Go for a walk, drink water, meditate, or journal what happened. Action breaks the guilt loop. Movement shifts the energy. Every time you recover, your comeback becomes stronger. You see, relapse isn't the opposite of recovery. It's part of recovery. It's feedback. It's your brain saying, we still have work to do here. And each time you face it with honesty, you're rewiring your emotional resilience. One day, you'll notice that your recovery periods become shorter. What once took you weeks to bounce back from will take a few days, then hours, then minutes. Because every time you rise, you're building something powerful inside you. Emotional regulation. You're teaching your nervous system to stay calm in discomfort. You're learning to ride the wave without drowning in it. You're proving to yourself that you're not defined by impulses or mistakes. You're defined by persistence. And that persistence is what transforms you. So if you ever relapse, remember this. The goal isn't to never fall again. It's to rise faster every time. Because the strength you build in recovery is the strength that will carry you through life. Not just away from addiction, but toward mastery, purpose, and peace. You are not your relapse. You are your recovery. And every reset is proof that you're still in the fight, stronger, wiser, and more awake than before. You've been on a journey. You've faced a loop, shown a light on your triggers, rewired your brain, built discipline, and learned to rise after every fall. And now, you're standing at the edge of something new, a version of yourself that's stronger, clearer, and freer than ever before. This is the new you, not defined by urges, not trapped by old habits, not hiding behind guilt or shame. This is someone who holds self-control like a shield, energy like a fuel, focus like a compass, and peace like a home. Every decision, every thought, every action now is weight. Every choice is intentional. Every moment is yours to shape. But transformation isn't only about stopping something. It's about what you start to create. True freedom opens space for purpose. You begin to notice the richness of life you have been ignoring, the satisfaction of meaningful work, the connection in real relationships, the joy of being fully present. You reconnect with authenticity, the part of you that isn't seeking instant pleasure, but real engagement with the world around you. Pleasure, real pleasure, doesn't come from screens, clicks, or artificial dopamine hits. It comes from presence, from living in the moment, from creating, connecting, and contributing. Every smile you see, every hand you hold, every accomplishment you achieve, these become the real rewards, brighter and more lasting than anything the digital world can ever offer. And with this awareness, you reclaim your energy. You understand that your energy is not meant to be drained by addiction. It's meant to be channeled into creation, into growth, into relationships, into purpose. Your mind now serves you. Your life responds to the choices you make, not the impulses that once controlled you. Take a moment and affirm this truth. My mind serves me. My energy creates life, not addiction. I am free, because I have chosen awareness. Repeat it, feel it, let it sink into every part of you. Because these aren't just words, they are the foundation of your new identity. You are no longer the person trapped in a cycle. You are the observer, the creator, the awakened. You have transformed your mind, and in doing so, you have transformed your life. Remember, overcoming porn addiction isn't about fighting your nature. It's about mastering your mind. You are not alone, and you are not broken. You are awakening. Take a deep breath, feel the freedom you've claimed, and step forward into the new life you are creating, one conscious choice at a time.